message for the ladies and gentlemen around the world and all the ships at sea.
We all make choices, but in the end, our choices make us. So choose wisely. Subscribe to It's Erik Nagel wherever shows are found, on whatever platform you choose. And as always, leave us a positive review. Would you kindly? It's Erik Nagel, and it starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen of the universe, the next voice you hear.
It's Erik Nagel.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the program. My name is Erik Nagel. Over there, that is the lovely and talented Zia.
Hello.
Phone lines are open, 651 Smithers. That is the phone number to call and contact us. 651-764-843-777-777. If you want to follow us on social media, it's Erik Nagel across the board on all the platforms. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel, which we are all up to date with every program that you're not getting off the subscription feeds. By the way, those are free, whether it's on iHeart, Apple, or Google Podcasts, even Spotify. Does very well for us, but if you're not getting us from any of those platforms, we also put a condensed, edited version of the show up on YouTube. No commercials, you don't get the bonus time stuff, you don't get some of the songs and stuff that get played in the show, so you can just go there if you want for a quick reference or what have you. Anywhere you go, I'll follow you there, said the Gin Blossoms, but they were also listening to this program in the car 20 years before it even came out. Anyway, welcome to the program here. The what?
They'll follow you down, but not that far.
Yeah, because they're just jealous and jaded. That was seriously for the longest time why I hated the Gin Blossoms. Because they kept using the word jaded in their songs, and I don't know why it just annoyed me. And I just didn't like them in the 90s when they were hot and you were supposed to like them. It took me about 10 years later to finally get over that and go, yeah, the Gin Blossoms weren't that bad.
So now you don't hate them? Like you won't turn the music off and start cursing if the Gin Blossom song comes on?
Nope, I won't say goodbye to fools. I'll say that everything is cool till I hear it from them. But they're not doing anything anymore. Anyway, so this is our show. We're trying to figure out if this is going to be our last live show before the year's over. We still haven't decided what we're going to do yet for New Year's Eve. You might get a show right after New Year's Eve. We don't know. We'll sort it all out. But this is going to definitely be the last show so far before Christmas. And then around Christmas time, I'm hoping to have some special episodes put out there for you all to enjoy. So it is Christmas time. Christmas in New York City, Christmas in Los Angeles. I can't imagine they're exactly the same here in New York City. We got some freak snowstorms that came a little early, and the temperature dropped down into the single digits, and it's been hovering anywhere from there to 30. But now I'm finding out that next week for Christmas, at least in this area, it's like, good news, everybody. It's going to be in the 40s and 50s. We're going to warm up. And all I could think of is my time in Florida when I had to live down there, and it was Christmas time, and it was like 70. And people are walking around in shorts, or sorry, if it dropped below 70, they had their light jackets on because it's cold. But I just hated the whole concept of Christmas and it being sunny and warm out.
That's the only Christmas I've ever known, Erik.
I know.
I've never known Christmas to not be sunny and warm.
For if you don't know, Zia grew up in Hawaii.
We could go to the beach on Christmas if you wanted to.
We could. Now, would it be unusual for you to come into the Northeast or the northern parts of the country in the Midwest there, where the holidays are coming and all of a sudden it's just snowstorms and snows everywhere? Would that freak you out, or does it have to be warm and sunny for Christmas?
No, I've literally never experienced that in my life. Like I've experienced a couple of winters very shortly. When my husband and I first started dating, he took me back to New York in December, and the day that we landed, it was snowing. And like that was cool because it was new, but I mean, we were there for a week. So it wasn't like I was spending a lot of time, but it was just neat. It was around Christmas time, but it was earlier in the month. And then when I was 14 or 15, my stepmom took us back to Connecticut, where she's from, and it was dead winter. And I was such a fucking cranky shithead about it. Because we were only there for, I think, again, like a week. And they wanted me to go, sledding?
Right.
But I think that they were just like trash can lids.
What is it called? Sledding? Even if you didn't grow up with snow, you've seen enough TV and movies and commercials to know what sledding is.
I don't usually do this show after dinner. I'm a lot more tired than usual. Because I ate.
Right.
I ate so much pasta.
You're a little punch drunk.
A little bit. But yeah, so we went sledding and stuff, and I bruised my tailbone, and it was cold, and it was wet, and I hated it. But I think I would appreciate it more now.
Oh yeah, I think you would.
Yeah, I think it's different.
So I'm thinking about it. I guess the whole concept of Christmas being associated with snow is mostly a European thing that became an American thing or North American thing, Canada included. Maybe parts of Russia, because sometimes some of them are Orthodox Jewish out there, and I don't know what else their religion is. Forgive my ignorance, but I think some factions of Russia celebrate Christmas. Obviously, Asia is not really all about that, so it's pretty much a European, North American, not just a holiday, but an association as far as snow, winter goes with all of this stuff. And then Santa really this is always fun because I learned this in school too with my marketing class. Santa really only got big because of Coca-Cola.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So there's the history of Santa Claus as far as commercial marketing goes, and just the lore of Santa was that Coca-Cola adopted it maybe 100 years ago. Could be a little bit more.
Man, Coke's been around for a long time.
Yeah, Coke's been around since the 1800s and the end of the 1800s. So Coca-Cola adopted Santa Claus as part of their branding for the holiday and started making Santa into what it is. And then everybody else followed suit, with Santa Claus being applied to toy merchandising and then appliances and cars and all that stuff. As through time, anything Christmas related is snow, jingle bells, Santa, a tree, the basics.
Right.
But it was really Coca-Cola that gave life to Santa Claus. Even though they didn't create Santa Claus, they were the ones that kind of sort of manufactured it and pushed it out there with Coca-Cola. And that's why up until they developed the polar bears, Santa Claus was always hand-in-hand association with Coca-Cola. But that's how it got really big. Yeah.
That's so weird. You know what I want to know? So, like you were talking about...
Tell me what's on your mind. I'm punch drunk, too. I want to know.
What song is that? I didn't recognize that one.
There is some things you can't hide. You don't know that one?
No, I don't know that one.
All right, I forget who sings. I forget who it is.
You're like, I'm singing the song. I don't know who it is.
It's a group called YTP from the 80s.
YTP. I missed that one.
Sorry, wait a minute. Why does it say YTP? Oh, the thing's screwed up. Excuse me. It's Information Society. I thought that seemed wrong.
I don't know who Information Society is.
They were like how do you? They were like in the vein of In Excess.
Okay.
If you know them. That kind of weird. It's not quite new wave, but it's not quite rock and roll. It's like a mixture of alternative and new wave kind of stuff from the 80s. Yeah.
Well, that one went right over my head.
Well,
I miss those guys completely. The 80s came to Hawaii in the 90s. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't think I listened to it.
Stork would bring them, drop them down into volcanoes.
Yeah, that's all we did. Anything we didn't like, we threw it into the volcano.
It's convenient. I mean, that could be your garbage dump. Whatever you got to do, just dump it in the volcano.
That's true. Pele will eat it up. It's all good.
Pele?
Yeah, she's the goddess of lava.
I did not know that. Is it a Polynesian goddess or?
Hawaiian goddess.
Okay.
Yeah, before the what are they called? The missionaries came.
Right.
They had their own gods.
The white man. Go ahead, say it. You know you want
the
to.
White man. I say, as I am so white. Yeah, but it's true. They had all their own gods and stuff, gods and goddesses.
Was the Hawaiian culture different than the rest of the Polynesian culture, like from like Samoa and down that Pacific
It
Rim
is-
chain there? Are they all like, because you know how sometimes Roman and Greek kind of overlay, even though they're two totally separate things?
Yeah.
Did Hawaiian have their
sort
own
of-
culture, or were they all kind of in the same wheelhouse before the missionaries came?
Similar but different. Sort of like you said, Roman and Greek. It's its own separate thing. They believe that the Hawaiians originated from Polynesia. They came from somewhere, but they all sort of, I guess, adapted their own thing. But it is a different culture. Similar but different.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm learning on this show.
Learning. I took like so many years of Hawaiian studies too, and I know that there's some stuff that I don't know.
Me fail
lot of
English? That's impossible. Yes. It's funny for Americans who fail English and American history and you grow up in America. I'm sure plenty of your classmates did not do well in Hawaiian studies.
Oh yeah, tons. My niece probably would school all of us. She goes to a Hawaiian immersion school and she speaks Hawaiian fluently. She's 9. She's only just now learning how to read English.
Hawaiian's
she can
its own
speak
language
English.
too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's Pidgin and Hawaiian, but Hawaiian is a different language.
What's Pidgin?
Pidgin is the
Are
language
you
that everybody started speaking. It's kind of like a made up language, because in the sugar plantation days, they had all these different camps. They had like the Japanese camps, Chinese camps, Filipino camps, Hawaiian camps, and then there were like the white people. Nobody spoke the same language, and so they sort of developed this melting pot language called Pidgin. That's like a mix of all of it. There's all kinds of weird words, and it's like
So it's a dialect, like a regional,
yeah, it's exactly.
like a regional
But
dialect.
it's a recognized language.
Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of other examples around the world that people know about, but I only know, the continental United States. I guess that would be compared to when you're down south and when you're like super south and Cajun territory comes into play.
Right.
So it's not
yes.
just the American South, but then you start getting the Cajun areas of Mississippi and Louisiana blending together, and then it's not even just a drawl or whatever it is. It blurs together where they're talking really fast but slurring the words at the same time, and you go, I have no idea what you're talking. Oh, Waterboy, Adam Sandler's Waterboy, the one character there who's in the overall.
Yes.
That even though he's
making fun of it, but yeah,
that's what it is. It's a regional dialect only to that area, and you don't know what the hell they're talking about unless you're from that area.
And I believe also down there, because there were a lot of French people there, right? So I think that they even use like French words come into it a little bit. So it's like a hodgepodge of French and English with that thick accent. It is very similar to that. Very similar.
Tell me about Hawaiian Christmas.
I mean, we still celebrate Christmas pretty regularly. I mean,
like, what are the traditions? I mean, obviously, we talked about the weather. It's a totally different climate and mindset for what it is around Christmas time. What is how is it practiced there? What are the traditions that you guys have adapted and continue to do?
I mean, there aren't none that I really know of. I have a mixed family, so I have like some Hawaiian family and I have some Palauan family, and then I have white family. So we just really kind of celebrate it pretty normally. Like, we'd wake up in the morning and do Christmas with the Christmas tree and all that crap. And a lot of people will put lights up on their houses. And then usually we get together Christmas Day after the presents and all that later in the day at somebody's
Take the tree
house.
and throw it in the volcano?
Yeah,
like we're
exactly.
done. Okay. It's fun
we
to
sacrifice a virgin once a year on Christmas Day.
I thought that was New Year's.
No, Christmas.
Two
Into the
virgins.
volcano she goes.
Okay. It's also
Two virgins on New Year's.
Yeah, it's also fun when you throw the wrapping paper into the volcano and you see it burn up in different colors.
Yeah, exactly. It's like fireworks. Free fireworks.
Glitter everywhere. So you unwrap presents, you go to where? You go to family?
Yeah, one of the family will host everybody and usually go over and there's a shit ton of food. It's kind of like Thanksgiving. My dad will always make a prime rib. Somebody always has a ham. There's always
I'm glad we have that in common. Prime rib on Christmas is an amazing thing.
Fuck
now,
yeah, it is.
I know depending on your family heritage or even the regions of where you are, no matter what country you're in, you have dishes and traditions that reflect on you, your heritage, where you live, And even if it's not a religious thing for you, it's still just something that was a tradition in your family, and you still continue to do so every year. I love the fact that you guys do prime rib, because I was only introduced to doing prime rib for Christmas maybe 15 years ago.
Oh.
And it's amazing. That is my association with it right now. When you get a big, thick prime rib with the au jus and then some horseradish with it, so...
My dad would stuff whole cloves of garlic into it. Like, he would make cuts into the meat and stuff whole garlic cloves into it, and then do like a rub on the outside. It was so fucking good. You
don't eat the cloves of garlic. You scoop them out after when you cut it up and stuff,
I'll
right?
eat them.
Oh,
I
you
love
will?
garlic. Yeah,
I love garlic too.
Roasted and cooked.
I love
totally
garlic
eat
too,
'em.
but if you're cutting into a clove, like, I need it diced and kind of, in a smaller portion.
If it's raw, cutting into a clove, that's a little bit brutal. But if it's like roasted and been cooked for a long time, I'm totally cool with it. It's not as strong.
Okay.
Flavor.
Good. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But still, prime rib, amazing. And and this is the thing too. I talked about prime rib for years on Christmas, and sometimes people say, "Oh, depending on what the economy's doing or what have you, that it is a more pricier cut of meat." Right?
Yeah, that's why my dad always did it. He always had the money from growing all the pot.
But that's the time of the year that you should do it. You know, it's not like you're getting steaks all the time. When you get steaks, the rest of the year, you're not really seeking, unless you're really lucky or have a lot of money, you're not going out to seek a whole roast. But on Christmas, it's like, look, you're saving up money for presents or whatever you're doing. Put some money aside for food.
Hell yeah.
Don't go cheap on the presents. Find shit that you don't want or never open, re-gift it. Save it and go get prime rib. What's wrong with you? And then the sides are very key too. Depending what you have with it. People like, they roast Brussels sprouts or asparagus with it. I like to do the au gratin potatoes. Those are a big go for me for Christmas time. The prime rib, au gratin potatoes. I do salad. I like a little salad at the beginning.
Yeah. Salad is good. Salad's a nice, cleanse to cleanse your palate before you do all the damage.
Well, see, that's the thing. Salad is supposed to be, I think, at the end of your meal. I think traditionally it's supposed to be at the end of the meal.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Salad was supposed to be what cleanses your palate before you have dessert, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
But, we as Americans don't give a shit about where we came from and what we do. And we're like, nope, it's going after the appetizer. It's to cleanse the appetizer before going into the main meal.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. I mean, I love doing that. But I got to figure out what I got to figure out what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do prime rib again this year. You're
going to do the prime rib this year? Do you get together with family too and do a whole?
Well, family usually does it on Christmas, so I just realized that I misspoke. So maybe for Christmas Eve, I got to figure out what I'm going to do for that. But for Christmas Day, usually they do prime rib. They have lasagna. They make a handmade lasagna that's a second course, I guess. You have
an Italian.
That leans more towards an Italian thing where they do pasta like that. Okay. Sometimes too on Christmas they do if you're really super Italian, the fishes. There's a whole thing about the 7 fishes.
It's like a 7 dinners of something, right? It's something like that. I've heard of that.
I'm not a big seafood person. It's a complete waste of table space for better food. So I'm not into the fish thing, and I'm not going to be into the fish thing. I'll take 7 prime ribs if I can. Wait,
are you Italian?
No,
is your family Italian?
I have some Italian family, but I am not Italian. I also have Greek family too, which is fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Greeks have really wild food.
Yeah,
to the point where some of it I just go, nope. I see octopus, not touching that. And there's black olives and everything. Not a fan of that either. But they do crazy things.
Olives, though, right?
Yeah, I'm not a big. I'll eat them if I have. If they're in something, like they're mixed into whatever, I'll just eat it. But if they're garnished on top or on the side for you to eat, I'll never touch them. Green olives, and that's about it.
Huh, interesting.
The Spanish olives or the cracked Sicilian green olives, those I'll eat. But everything else, I'm not really that big a fan. I don't hate them, I just rather not. Black olives are mixed into a lot of Mexican food. If you get nachos or burritos or things like that, I'll eat it there. It's fine. I just think black olives, I think maybe that's why everybody else loves them and I don't, because they're kind of tame compared to the green olives, which are a lot saltier. So that's why everybody else likes the black olives and the Kalamata olives, but that's not important. Not important at all. The reason why I'm saying that is because what you did not hear is the fact that there's been an edit in the show. Let me tell you about the nonsense that we've had for the last couple of days. So this is actually attempt number 4 at doing this show, because the first time we tried to do the show on the other night, we got about 10 minutes in and we realized that the unit for recording just kind of crashed. Don't know why, it just did. Then we did the second recording, which was about almost 2 hours. And it turns out, we go to look at the audio, you see about 20 minutes of audio, very low for some reason, and then it goes dead for an hour and 40 minutes. There's just nothing there. I have no idea why. I was seeing our volume levels through the processors and all of that stuff. Everything is moving as I see it now. Don't know what the hell was going on there. And then we realized about 40 minutes into this recording that it stopped again, saying the card was full. So I went and checked everything and I said, how is this possible? We're looking at everything and there's still like 6.5 gigs of room in there. I don't know what happened. So where you're hearing, this is going to be weirdly meta because we're dissecting the show and we don't know what happened the first 40 minutes on here, and we just did it, and it's probably weird as F for you listening because you just heard everything we said. I know we were talking about antipasta platter. We were talking about foods from Hawaii for Christmas. We talked about prime rib. I was talking about what I was going to do. I think you missed more food stuff. I don't know. You missed us me trying to explain what a snow squall was to Zia, and I showed her the video. We played the video here of the snow coming across the river into Manhattan, and she was amazed. She's never saw that before. Ooh, okay, you got that. Moving on. We were talking about vacation days. We were talking about taking time off, and things in my head were getting all screwy because I was dealing with, the network stuff for 2 different companies, and we had Jingle Ball, we had all this stuff going on, and I'm forgetting basic stuff. I was forgetting the names of Italian meats that I enjoy, that everybody else enjoys, and I was forgetting the name prosciutto. I don't know why I forgot that at that point in time, but I did. Prosciutto. It was pushing out lesser important stuff to put other things in my head, and I think that's just a matter of when you're getting older that things start to just... It's like your brain is hoarding space, and you go, we don't need that stuff anymore. We got to get out of here because we got to bring this new stuff in. So we were talking about vacation days. We were talking about it originally started about was I going to go home not go home, but go to my parents' home in Florida to go see them.
Yeah. And
I haven't seen them for Christmas in about 13 years, and it was because mostly of the work schedule with Opie and Anthony. Not that I couldn't have taken time to go down there, it's just there was a lot going on and it just didn't really make sense for me to go down there to do it. Reason being was that because we had a lot of days off, we didn't know what was vacation time except for Christmas and New Year's. Throughout the rest of the year wasn't fully planned. That was mostly by Opie's design, where after the XM days, the XM years, where we were told, if you're going to take vacation, you have to take it when the show is off. So if the show's on, you're on. If they're off, you're off. The Sirius merger happened, and they work a different kind of corporation. Didn't work that way, and they said, nope, you have the time. You need to use it before the end of the year, or you lose it. It's gone. We do not pay you for it, and you can't roll it over, what have you. So we'd always have to make weird vacation times, and Ant would usually plan his weeks. I was like, hey, I'm taking a cruise in April. We're going to be gone for 2 weeks. Or he's doing something at Disney with his family, something like that. But he usually would give us enough a heads up that he would plan for the year. Opie then got into the pattern, and this isn't shitting on Opie. It's just the way he was operating at the time, where he's like, I think we're going to take off in a couple of weeks. Okay. Well, I need to know. We got to build best of stuff. Nobody has time to plan vacations, and it used to aggravate a lot of people because some of the guys on the staff had wives and kids and wanted to go do things, but then we find out in a moment's notice we're going to take vacation. So we wound up not usually taking vacation while the show was off. because why were we going to waste the time when we didn't have anywhere to go or anything planned anyway? So we would just make our own plans, and if it interfered with the show, then so be it. I did mention in the recording that you didn't hear, but I'll repeat again, is that Roland and I used to take off a lot in December because our days would stack up. And management would let us know, it's like, you got to use this time off before the end of the year. And if you think, oh, well, just don't use them and work and whatever, and that's fine. But in corporations like that, they get in a lot of trouble if you're not using your days. Like, if you don't use your sick days, that's one thing. You have them available, but if you don't use them, that's one thing. But your days off are like a legal requirement.
Right.
Especially if you're a contracted employee. And if you don't use the days, it seems like the company's not letting you use the days, or maybe they talk to you so you don't feel like you need to use the days. So they got to get you to take the time off, or else they get in trouble because they got to report it to, federal government and other groups or whoever they got to report it to. So we'd have to use the time off. So Roland and I would take, it would be like the 19th of the month. And so all right, we'll see you in January. And then I was like, wait, you guys are really good? Yeah, we got to go. We can't be here for all this stuff. So they'd have like a skeleton staff because people who had too many days would just have to take off at the end of the year. It also led into me telling the story about Steve C. Steve C was our old executive producer for the Opie and Anthony show from the XM days into the early Sirius XM days. And it got to be the point one year, Steve had so much time off built up from the XM mergers, stuff that rolled over from XM and stuff we had at Sirius, that it was going to be too much time off if he took everything. It'd be like a month or so of just days. You're talking like 5 days a week, month, not like, 1 day a week kind of thing. So he decided in like September or October of, I forget which year, you can find it online, that he was going to take Mondays off till the end of the year. So one day, oops, where's Steve? What's going on? And we had to tell him that, and the quote was, Steve is taking Mondays off for the foreseeable future. And
I laughed much harder at this the first time.
I know.
This is the second time I'm hearing it, but it's still really funny.
So Ope freaks out and goes, you guys are kidding me. And they're like, no, that's the thing. So we wound up calling Steve, and we talked to him, and Ope's getting upset, and Aunt and Jim are laughing at it, but what can they do about it? So it became an issue that management actually had to come in and tell Steve that he had to come back into work, and they'll figure it out some other way. Management didn't have a problem at first, but then when Ope got upset,
they approved it.
Yeah, when Ope got upset, and no, I understand it. You don't want your executive producer gone all the time. I get it. But what were we going to do? You have the company as a boss yelling at us, and then you had Opie as a boss yelling at us. So it's a juggling act trying to appease both sides. But that's right. What Steve did. It was hilarious because that became the ongoing joke that Steve's taking off Mondays for the foreseeable future.
So amazing.
So yeah, because it was so sporadic and whatever, and I have family up here too. I just wound up not going down to Florida anymore for Christmas or for Thanksgiving. I want to change that one day, but my dad can't come up here. He's not doing the best. I mean, he's doing okay, but he's not what he used to be. Right. We talked about in the segment you didn't hear that he has kind of deteriorated a little bit since surviving cancer. And when most people go through heavy chemo, usually they have like lesions or scaly skin, or their hair falls out or something, they look very sickly. And if they go through the whole motions of chemo and they wind up beating it, and then they start getting healthier again, but usually there's some kind of side effect that's lagging with a person after you're going through all of that. So my dad looked great and fine, but the chemo kind of fried some of his balance I guess it's in your part of your inner ear system or what have you. So he has problems walking, and like he can walk, but he can't do it for long periods of time. He had to give up golfing. I think he even stopped driving too.
Well, yeah, if your equilibrium's off, it's probably not the best idea to be driving.
Right. So, he has, someone that drives him if it needs be, but he can't fly anymore. Like, he can't get on a plane. So if I can make time to go down there, I will, but for the foreseeable future, that term again, it doesn't look like my family could come up north to see me and my other siblings that are up here. I have one sibling down in Florida. The rest are all up here in New York. So, pretty much vacation
like you said,
vacation
you
is
go down there
here
other
in New York.
times.
The what?
I just, like you said, you go down there other times. You were just down there last month or something.
Yeah, I was just down there about a month and a half ago to see them and what have you. So, yeah, I try to make time to go down there certain times of the year, but what have you. And God bless Steve C. It's been several years since he died, but still the legend of Steve Carlesi lives on. Moving on to more happier things with Christmas stuff is Christmas music. Now, we started talking about this. We did a whole thing on the second version of this show that you didn't get to hear, but I'll speed through this real quick. Christmas music, you either love it or hate it. There's stations in New York City. There's stations out in Los Angeles where Zia is, where they flip to 24-hour Christmas music at the beginning of December. I'm sure wherever you're listening in your market, in your city, you have a station that flipped to 24-hour Christmas music. Now, when that happens, people are 50-50. They either love it or they hate it, and if they do love it, then they love it, and that's kind of a weird sickness that they do love it that intensely. But if they do hate it, that's a little bit too much, because it's not all of it is bad, and you don't get to hear it all year, so it's not like it's that repetitive. But it just, I guess it's a mind association that it's this time of year, this time of stuff plays, this kind of stuff shows on television, be it TV specials or movies, and they're like, well, it's always the same thing every year. Why don't they make new stuff? But then when they make the new stuff, artists put stuff out there, nobody cares about it. It's very rare when things start to pop. Like we were talking about 25 years ago. It's the anniversary. 25 years ago, Mariah Carey put out All I Want for Christmas Is You. A unique song, not a cover, not anything. It was hers, and has been huge around this time every year for the last 25 years. A couple of years ago, Gwen Stefani, you may know her, the lead singer of No Doubt. For you younger people, you may know her from as a judge on The Voice. She's dating Blake Shelton, who's also on The Voice, and she put out a Christmas album a couple of years ago with a song called You Make It Feel Like Christmas. Very poppy. It actually was being played on the radio, and it's kind of been invited into the club of new Christmas music and continuing Christmas music. It's not as popular and not as catchy as some of these other songs, but for an example of new stuff, it's there. Anything else? Country music, pop music, whatever's left of rap. I saw some rap Christmas songs showing up on Spotify for some reason, and I listened to one of them. I forgot who it was, but it's called Christmas Trees. I was like, oh, let's see what it is. I was like, wow, this is terrible. This is just awful. So there's really no winning as far as Christmas music goes. Now, Christmas movies and Christmas television specials usually are garbage. They really are, because they go for that schlocky, cheesy, Norman Rockwell kind of envisioning of a family for Christmas stuff. I remember earlier in this year they did, John Legend had a Christmas special with Chrissy Teigen, his wife, and a bunch of other surprise neighbors showed up. Last week they had Christmas with the Hogs, or Haugs, whatever it is, and they're two people who are apparently famous. One of them, I think, used to date Ryan Seacrest for a while. I don't know. I don't know if it was the brother or the sister. People had a special, and their special looked like they were trying to bring back Donnie and Marie. Do you know who Donnie Marie is?
I've heard the name. I don't honestly know what it is because I've never seen it.
Okay. Donnie and Marie, if you look back in the day, Donnie and Marie was a Mormon family. That was they were an entity like the Jackson 5, like the Jackson family. Except they were clean-cut white Mormons. And Donnie and Marie were pretty much the standout stars from all of this. They had a song called I'm a Little Bit Country, I'm a Little Bit Rock and Roll.
I know that song.
Okay. So they used to have variety specials. In the 70s, networks had variety specials because they thought that's what everybody loved, and that was the big thing. And they were cheap and easy to put out. Well, history has repeated itself, because outside of the Christmas stuff, throughout the year, what do you have? You have The Voice, you have So You Think You Can Dance, you have The Masked Singer, you have Ellen's game shows, you have these variety-style shows which have big prizes, but they're very cheap to produce. And then the second they're done, they can flip to their other property immediately. Like, this one just ended. Next week, this thing starts up for 14 weeks. And then after that, this one comes back for season 12. They just constantly move in and out so fast with these things. So they did a Christmas special. It was all hokey, like they were on an ice rink. And like he said, I told you to get your skates. And she's like, I got my skates. He's like, those are roller skates. And she's out on the ice and like, ha, 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 ha. It's supposed to be hilarious. I put up a thing right there on the screen so you can look at it. It is just all kinds of terrible. and that's what they're putting out for new things. As far as movies go, I don't really know of a new Christmas movie that's not a rom-com kind of a thing. But around this time of year, you go with the classics, the staples. You go with Home Alone. You go with A Christmas Story. Tim Allen's The Santa Claus. Polar Express is another one. Elf gets shown a lot.
I watched Elf recently.
One of the best that doesn't get shown a lot, Scrooged. I love Scrooged. Have you ever seen Scrooged?
I watched it a couple of years ago on Christmas.
It's a great Christmas movie.
Yeah, it is.
Die Hard, not a Christmas movie. I know a lot of people think it is. No, I don't care. I've been trolling people on Instagram for a while saying Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. And it is. I'm just looking. Yes, we're still recording. Okay, continuing on.
Okay, good.
So you don't get Christmas movies that often. And if you do, they're kind of rom-com-y. Like we had the one with Carlesi from Game of Thrones just came out.
Yeah, I heard that was terrible.
What is it called?
Last Christmas?
Last Christmas. That's what it's called.
Yeah, I heard it was really bad. I mean, I didn't plan on watching it. I like the usual Christmas movies, like all the ones listed. And the one, I think this is the one girly thing that I'm into. I love this movie. I watch it every year. Love Actually. Absolutely love that movie. That's my favorite Christmas movie.
Yes. When we talked about that originally, Love Actually
Yeah.
is a rom-com-y Christmas movie that actually I hear a lot of guys enjoy.
I think it's a good movie.
Probably. I haven't seen it. But I was always surprised when I hear guys like this movie. It's like, what's in there to like? But then you look at the cast and you go, oh, this is a huge cast. You have Alan Rickman, Emma Thompson, Hugh Grant, Keira Knightley, Colin Firth. There you go. Second, actually, Alan Rickman and Colin Firth are enough to draw guys into there. Who else do we have in here? Andrew Lincoln from The Walking Dead. He's in it.
All
Martin
young
Freeman.
And beardless.
Martin Freeman, you know him from The British Office, but you may also know him from The
Hobbit.
The Hobbit. He's Watson in BBC's Sherlock Holmes. Mm-hmm. Shannon Elizabeth, the naked girl from American Pie.
Great boobs.
Right. Liam Neeson is in there.
Mm-hmm. The little boy who was also grew up to be on Game of Thrones, who just never stopped looking like a little boy.
Right. Laura Linney is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think.
Claudia Schiffer. I remember you talked about that.
Yes,
that was
Claudia
your crush.
Schiffer. Not a crush, but in the 90s when people loved supermodels, everyone usually loved Cindy Crawford, right? I didn't really care for Cindy Crawford. She was pretty, but I liked Claudia Schiffer. I thought she was amazing. That was the one in my teenage years, I thought. And I would have liked Elle Macpherson, except for the fact that my dad liked Elle Macpherson and wouldn't shut up about liking Elle Macpherson. So it felt too creepy. I was like, you know what? She's pretty, but I can't do it.
You know, for some reason, I always thought, like, everybody was like, yeah, Elle Macpherson. Like, I've heard of her, and I know that this amazing model, everybody talks about how hot she was. I saw her on Friends, and I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. She has no, and I think that it's just because like the culture changed and things got different. It's so funny. I'm watching. I'm like, she has no ass. She looks old. I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand why everybody likes her. But I think it's just because the view on beauty it really has changed. Like so much of it is about ass now. Well, I mean, I'm sure that it was for different people always, but it's hilarious that I looked at her in Friends and I was like, don't get it.
No,
don't get it.
All right, I'm going to show you something here. I'll show you a couple of things, actually. Sorry for for the audience listening.
I'm looking at nitpicks.
This is all just for Zia.
I see boob.
Yep.
Okay, I guess. You know.
And this is from her movie. She was in a movie called Siren, or Sirens.
I feel like I've heard of that.
Yeah. Like, she's tall.
She has good boobs. I will say that.
Yeah, she's a tall woman.
Her butt is sad.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what? Some people might like it. That's just my own personal opinion.
This is one of her more famous photos, too. This one here. This was from her Playboy shoot.
Wow, she's done a lot of naked stuff.
Yeah. She's Australian. They're not that...
Fantastic boobs, though, for real. These are really nice.
They're not that shy about showing off their goods.
Good for them.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is not just me feed naked photos to Zia time, that's for later.
That can be any time. Just send them to me, whatever.
Right. Anyway, Love Actually, that's where we were at.
Yes,
so, yeah, Love Actually
movie.
is a good Christmas movie.
Good Christmas movie.
Always looking for alternatives for Christmas programming. There was, now that I'm thinking about it, there was a movie that was on Netflix. I think it was a Netflix exclusive a couple years back. I'll say about 2 years back. It was about a shootout at a convenience store. I want to say in like Arizona or New Mexico.
Interesting. And
Let's
this
see.
ties into Christmas?
Yeah, it's 2017 called El Camino Christmas.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. It was if it's still up on Netflix, I highly recommend you go and see it. El Camino Christmas. It's happening during Christmas time. It turns out to be a shootout at it's like a convenience store / gas station, like a mobile on the run kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Who's in there? Dax Shepard, Kurtwood Smith. Do you know who he is?
Not the name.
Kurtwood
maybe the
Smith.
face.
He was in a lot of movies in the 80s. He's the dad. He's best known as probably the dad on that 70s show.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but he used to be what was he? He was in Deep Impact, RoboCop. That would be a big thing.
Yeah.
He was in a lot of those 80s movies, like the hard edge office pusher, like the head of the police department, or like the guy, the hard ass in the office, the
Always
evil
a
boss
hard
kind of
ass.
thing like that. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of other actors in there that their names don't really pop off for me as far as giving them a reference to what you know. And Jessica Alba's in it too. But anyway, if you can find that on Netflix, El Camino Christmas from a couple years back was really good. But I did want to point out some new things that showed up on Netflix and streaming services this year that we had to take note of. One of them being a movie called The First Temptation of Christ. It's 40 minutes long. I thought it was Spanish, but it turns out it's a Brazilian comedy group, so it's Portuguese, not Spanish. And it's about Jesus turning 30, but coming home for Christmas, but bringing his quote-unquote special friend with him
Special friend.
to his family, and having to reveal the relationship with the friend, right? So Jesus has a boyfriend named Orlando, which he's bringing home. They met being out on the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, as apparently the Jews do, according to the Old Testament. So he meets this guy Orlando in the desert, brings him home, obviously a bit flamboyant, not Jesus, the friend. Meets with the family, then his mom and dad, Mary and Joseph, have to tell him that they have some news for him. So they go into another room with Mary, Joseph, Jesus, and his uncle. I forget the uncle's name. And they had to reveal that that Joseph was not his father, that it was his uncle. And he's like, why is my uncle my father? And it turns out the uncle is really God, just in a human form while he's down there. So he's been pretending for 30 years to be Jesus' uncle when really he's God and his dad. So this started a big outrage because Joseph wanted to tell his son that, this whole story, and God just jumped the gun because he's being kind of a sarcastic asshole, which is pretty funny in this. So he's just taunting Joseph every time he gets mad because he's just pushing Joseph's buttons. And he reveals that he's God, but he's really his father. And he said, well, he's not. That guy's not your father. He's more like a surrogate father or probably a babysitter. And that pisses Joseph off, and he wants to fight. So he tries to take a shot at God, and God snaps his fingers or something, and Joseph's arm falls off, right?
Yeah.
And he's screaming whatever, and then Jesus, he's trying to teach Jesus that you have superpowers, you can perform miracles. It's like, perform a miracle, and somehow Jesus figures out to put the arm back on Joseph. So this keeps going on back and forth. God kept taunting Joseph and telling Mary, he's like, tell Joey to calm down, which pissed Joseph off even more. Jesus asked, like, what's the purpose of what I'm supposed to be doing now? He said, oh, you're here to spread the word. What's the word? The word of God. What is the word? It's from me. He's like, why am I going to do that? He's like, you go and you tell people. They'll listen to you, and then they'll tell other people, and they'll tell other people, and the word of me spreads. And so Jesus accuses God of running a pyramid scheme, which is really funny. A whole bunch of other weird shit happens where Jesus accidentally trips out. Like he made tea out of something that he thought was tea, and it turns out not to be tea. He's tripping out in the woods. He meets other gods from other religions, and they're trying to introduce him to the world of being a god and how cool it is and how you can mess with people and do all these things. and then he kind of comes out of it, and then I don't want to give away the ending, even though I give away some of this already, but that was just to allure you to come see this, because normally you may not check it out, because it's in Portuguese and it's in subtitles, but it's only for about 45 minutes. If you sit down and you watch it, you'll have a good time. There's some weird shit that happens at the end, some revelations, pun, of things going on, and it's just worth your time. If you can stand watching the subtitles, it's really funny. You'll enjoy watching that. It's on Netflix. It's called The First Temptation of Christ. There's another show on Netflix that I told Zia about. She watched it, and she's equally disgusted in it as I am. And that would be
truly terrible.
The Night Before Christmas, and it's spelled Knight, and the concept is this. Medieval magic sends a 14th century knight to modern-day Ohio, because that's where you want to be, where he falls for a high school science teacher who's disillusioned by love. So, here's the problem.
That's not the problem. There's many. This is one problem.
No, the problem is this. This exists. That's the problem.
That is the problem.
Now, breaking that down from a bigger problem, so some knight, some witch, what is it, the old lady? The old crone?
The old crone, yeah.
The old crone sends this knight to the future to fulfill his obligations of being a knight and solve his quest, or whatever it had to be. So the knight's in 2019 in Ohio, and nothing is freaking him out.
No, he's just like pleasantly surprised by everything. He's just like, oh, where are he turns, he's in a car. He gets in the car and he's like, oh, he's just in the car looking around at things. He turns the music on. He's like, where are the minstrels? Where did the minstrels come from? And you're just like, really, dude? You're not freaking out more about this? He's watching TV. Oh, the magical box where the pictures are moving. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like if I got transported 1,000 years into the future, 700 years into the future, however, 800, that I'd be freaking the fuck out at how different it is. Unless, maybe we're advanced enough to conceptualize some of the technology we'd seen, but they definitely were not. So it just doesn't make any sense that he's not losing his fucking mind.
Right. Yeah, he's in a car. It doesn't freak him out. He's like, oh, look at this. He's pressing buttons. He's fucking with the radio. That old gag. He talks to Alexa. He's like, where is she? She lives in this box. Okay, that's enough of an answer for me. Clothing didn't weird him out. He's trying to cut down a Christmas tree at a Christmas lot that it was already cut. A plane goes by. He's like, oh, that must be the steel dragon that the lady was talking about. And like nothing, and then it just became so hokey. Like he was going to change her life and defend her and all this stupid nonsense.
Defending her honor.
Yeah.
It was just really bad.
Look, it's not
and it also,
go ahead.
I was going to say, it also made me realize what a bad actress Vanessa Hudgens is. I saw her, you said this the last show too, Spring Breakers, and I do remember watching that, and I don't remember noticing it.
Well, do you know why I said it? Because she doesn't even get naked in this one. And I said, yeah, I know that's Spring Breakers that you're thinking of.
Yeah, well, that maybe is why you're just distracted by that. But good Lord, she's a terrible actress. I watched this movie and I was like, what the fuck am I watching? I don't believe that she's a teacher or she's in love with that. I don't believe any of this.
Yeah.
She's not selling me on this at all.
It always sounds like they just picked up the edits after they said line.
Yeah.
Like somebody read the line and repeated it right away because they were going to forget it. That's how awkward the interactions were in the dialogue.
So terrible.
But if you want to hate watch something for Christmas, never thought I'd be saying that, but if you want to hate watch for Christmas, check out The Night Before Christmas. Knight. It's on Netflix. If you want to sit through that. The other thing I want to get to is on Hulu. It's a Lifetime movie. I think it's available on Hulu as well. It's called Mistletoe and Menorahs. And this is so dumb. This is actually a step better than Night Before Christmas, but it's pretty close. When a determined toy executive must learn about Hanukkah in a hurry in order to land a big account, she enlists the help of her co-worker's friend, Jonathan, who happens to be also in desperate need of turning his bachelor pad into a Christmas wonderland in order to impress his girlfriend's father. After butting heads, here's the kicker. They realize they need each other's holiday expertise and quickly appreciate one another's cultures and each other. This is contrived garbage.
Yeah, agreed. Because neither of them can read that on the internet. You can't just go on the internet and learn about Hanukkah or learn about fucking Christmas. Get the fuck out of here.
No,
you don't need
not at all. Not at all. It's so terrible. And how do you work for a corporation? This isn't a slur. This isn't a stereotype. This is just a fact. How do you work in a major corporation and don't know anybody who's Jewish?
Yeah, that too.
Seriously. Like
I don't work in a corporation. I have like some family that's Jewish. Like I just don't.
How do you work in a city that doesn't have, and you don't know anybody that's Jewish?
Yeah, how do you be a human and not know about?
So I watched about halfway through before I turned this garbage off, but I had to watch enough so we could talk about it. She's standing in line at a Starbucks with her coworker, and she's talking about the pitch meeting she had, and this is great. And he invited me over to help coordinate for their holiday party. And she said, "Well, what are you gonna do? Do you know anything?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna Christmas." I'm paraphrasing. Christmas the shit out of this thing. I know everything about Christmas. I'm going to do all the stuff. They didn't say shit, but it would have been entertaining.
I wish she would have said
I could
Christmas the shit out of this.
Right. So she's going through the whole thing there, and her friend goes, he's Jewish. You're going to a Hanukkah party, a Hanukkah celebration. And she looked at her like, what? I don't know anything about Judaism or Hanukkah or anything. Now, look, I get if you don't know the intricacies as far as the traditions and the prayer readings and those things. I get that, but not to have any kind of surface level knowledge of somebody being Jewish.
And again, Google.
Right. So she's in a panic, and
Google.
She's like, "Well, she's like, don't worry, my friend is Jewish. I'll introduce him to you, and he needs help with Christmas stuff because his girlfriend's father is Christian, doesn't know that he's Jewish. So you can help him out and Christmasize his place, and he'll help you get all the Jewish stuff going, and this will all work out great." Like, it's just so pandering and contriving.
I don't think I could even hate watch this one.
Yeah, it's difficult to watch. I watched, like I said, I watched halfway through, and then I just kind of assumed the rest. But if you want to look for it, Mistletoes and Menorahs on it's a Lifetime movie. I think it's available on Hulu. Before we get out of here, I just want to run down some TV and news stuff because we're only going to just do one super segment here, and I'll blow out the commercials and all that stuff. Just this so we can get out of here and stop being frustrated with this show. Are we still recording? Is it still going? Yes, we're still going. Good. Finally. Movies for this weekend. We're not going to worry about the box office, but what's opening this weekend is obviously Star Wars. Everyone's going to see Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker. We also have... Where did the weekend thing go? That's weird. Everything disappeared for this weekend. I don't know what happened. Huh.
That's it. Rise of Skywalker.
Well, there's Cats.
So the only movie... Oh, damn it, Cats.
There's Cats. So that's coming around.
That trash.
Yeah. So there's Cats. We said last week on the show, I hope it's buried because there's several really strong movies out this week for your Christmas viewing. Everybody's off. So several movies came out this month that if you didn't get a chance to see it, now's your chance to go and see it. You had I'm trying to think. What was it? You had Jumanji, The Next Level. That's out there. That was number 1 last week. And you have Frozen 2, which has been killing and still very strong. I think that was number 2 on the list last week. Too much singing. But
I get it. Yeah, but I get it for kids. I totally
It's still going to make a ton of money because if you didn't take your kids to go see it during the month of December, because they got school and everything. But now that they're off for 2 weeks, now they're going to finally go see it. So whatever the movie was making as far as the box office goes, it's just going to shoot up in the next 2 weeks because people, oh my God. All right, look at this. So currently right now, worldwide, that's domestic and international, it's over $1 billion.
Damn.
So you got kids in America, kids in Canada who are now just getting off for Christmas break who maybe have not a chance to see it, and now they're going to go see it. This movie's going to
bury Cats.
This is going to make a ton of money.
I hope it wins over Cats. I really do.
Well, we will, because like we're saying, we have Star Wars, we have Jumanji, we have Frozen 2, Knives Out. Even though it's an independent movie, got a lot of buzz, a lot of acclaim. It's doing very well. It was number 3 on the list last week. That's going to be killing there. And then you got Star Wars, which will, like you said, be number 1. So at best, we're looking at Cats being 5th.
Good. I hope it bombs.
Nobody wanted that movie. Why is it here?
I don't know. I usually am not the kind of person, too, that's like, oh, just because I don't enjoy something means that everyone else should enjoy it, because that's obviously stupid. But I can't help it with this. I want that movie to die a slow death because it's a terrible movie, and you're right. Who asked for it? Why is it here?
And it's sad that you have, like, Idris Elba in there.
Yeah,
right?
Idris Elba's in there. I love him. Now I'm sad.
But then you have Taylor Swift in there, which is okay. It doesn't matter. But then I saw James Corden when that trailer first came out. And I go, wow, as bad as I thought this was, it's even worse now that I see he's in it. Terrible. So you have all of that to look forward to. And then on Christmas Day, too, there's a couple of movies that are going, not necessarily opening, but going worldwide. Sorry, not worldwide, opening nationwide. They were in limited release. Adam Sandler's movie, Uncut Gems, is going to be open nationwide for everybody to see. Heard a lot of good things about that. Then there is... I forgot what else there was. There was some other movie. Oh, that Bombshell movie tanked, by the way. We thought the Bombshell movie tanked because it opened like 15th, but it didn't have its theaters. Yeah, it didn't have its full nationwide release, so that's coming up.
Today, I think. Today it released
Did
nationwide.
it? Is that part of the stuff that opened on the 20th? I'm
pretty sure.
All right, let's go with that. But everything we've talked to you about right now, all these movies, whether they're good or bad, this is all you got until through January. Because the end of the year, there's really nothing. The beginning of the year, you have the remake of The Grudge. I don't know if it's a reboot or just a continuation that they're calling The Grudge, but that opens on January 3rd. Then you really have nothing through the first half of January. There's nothing there because then you're going to start heading into Oscar season where some movies are going to go back into the theaters just to remind people who are in the Academy to vote for these things. Even though I know they get them in the mail if you're an Academy member, but they put them back in the theater for like a week run just to refresh people. It's like, oh yeah, this movie's coming out for the Oscars. So that's what you're left with here. Television. If you want to, we jump into... we had a couple other movie news things real quick. The new second version of the Top Gun trailer is out for Top Gun Maverick. If you want to go check that out. They announced that they're remaking Fight Club, but with women. It's called Chick Fight. Chick Fight. It's Chick Fight with Alec Baldwin, Bella Thorne, and who's the other one? Trying to remember.
That's right. I remember we did this on the first show that we tried to record.
Malin Ackerman, who you may know from the Malin Ackerman, whatever, from the Watchmen movie. She was in Billions on Showtime.
She was in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. She gets topless in that, just in case anyone wants to know.
The best thing about Zia on the show is she's pretty much a human version of Mr. Skin. So every time we talk about something, she goes, "Oh, I saw her boobs in that one." It's like, cool. Didn't have to go online to look it up. Zia already knows.
Tell you. I got you.
Zia's got that on there. So yeah, that's starting to film in January 2020, and I think it's got a 2021 release. But it's called Chick Fight. So Female Fight Club is coming. And then Paramount Pictures also announced that Jackass 4 is going to happen. There are no current details on what the fourth film will feature or what cast will be included for the return, but it's more than likely it looks like Johnny Knoxville is at least going to be the centerpiece around everything that's being built for this movie. So that's still to come. Let's see, streaming stuff. The Witcher, which I know you got to go back and finish watching, because are you covering that for AfterBuzz?
No, because they wanted to film 5 nights a week, and I've got 2 other jobs.
Oh, right.
I can't.
We talked about this too. Witcher's not an episodic; it's a binge show.
It's a binge show. They wanted you to get it all out immediately. I just watched the first episode tonight, and I'm going to continue watching after this. I'm real excited about it. I don't know anything about the show because I haven't watched it yet, but I did see some things on Twitter today. A lot of people talking about a bath scene, I guess. Yeah, it's the infamous bath scene. It's in the video game. It's one of the cutscenes. Okay. You see everything. In the first episode, there's boobs. You see there's some naked people, but the bathtub scene has not come up yet. It has not. But I'm excited. I actually legitimately like the first episode so far. It's I don't know if it's just because I was kind of tired, but I was having a little bit of a hard time following it. But once I sort of figured out everything that was going on, I was like, okay, it's a building episode. The first episode is always a building episode. It's introducing you into the world. It's introducing you to the characters, what's going on. And I have to say that the choreography is pretty fucking amazing. There's a fight scene with Geralt, obviously, and he kicks him. It's great. It's really good. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I've seen some reviews saying it's terrible, it's awful. I've only seen 1 episode, so I can't talk about how the show is as a whole. I like the way it's starting, though. I actually do.
All right. Well, Witcher is out now on Netflix. You can go and watch that. How many episodes is it? 6, 10, 8, 12?
8, I think, but I actually don't even know. I should have looked.
There's
8,
enough for a first season, so you can go and look at that. Also want to point, if we're staying on Netflix, to 6 Underground. It's the Ryan Reynolds movie. It's an action movie. It's a car chase movie, or any kind of chase movie. It's a heist movie. It's like all of these features from great action movies are thrown in together into one single movie. I really enjoyed it. Considering that it's a Netflix movie, I really enjoyed it. And you just got to be amazed at the fact that you could wake up one day and these kind of things are just sitting there. You know, you go like, what is it? I was like, I didn't even hear about this movie. Like, we heard about The Irishman, that it was coming for the longest time. But I love the fact that on some of these streaming services that you just turn it on and all of a sudden there's something there that you weren't aware of. It just shows up. You're like, oh, what's this? And I see the 6 Underground. I had no idea this thing was coming. Watched it. It was really good. It was really good. It's like a little over 2 hours, but it was a lot of action, a lot of stuff moving around.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
It had Ryan Reynolds, that was enough to kind of draw me in, but I couldn't tell if it was going to be good or not.
Yeah, it's got some Fast and the Furious stuff. It's got some Ocean's 11 stuff. They even make fun of Ocean's 11 in there. It's got a bit of it's got a Reservoir Dog feel to it. Like, saying they actually carried out the heist.
Okay. I like that. I like the sound of that.
The interaction between the people, they all had names. That's the other thing. They all have numbers. They don't know each other's names or their backgrounds. Just like Reservoir Dogs, they all had colors and they didn't know the backgrounds, whatever. But say like Reservoir Dogs completed the heist. That's part of 6 Underground.
Very cool.
So go check that out. And then if you're like I said, Fast and the Furious, the animated version, Spy Racers, comes out on the 26th, the day after Christmas. I don't know if it's for kids or if it's for adults, but I've never seen any of the Fast and Furious stuff. That's going to be my binge for the holiday vacation. Then I'm going to try to watch some of the Fast and Furious since I've never seen any of them. Going over to TV real quick, Saturday Night Live this Saturday. It's the final episode for the year. It's their big Christmas show, and it's hosted by Eddie Murphy and musical guest Lizzo. So if you're not a Saturday Night Live fan, but if you're a comedy fan, a lot of people are going to be watching it because this is the first time Eddie's been back on Saturday Night Live, I think, in 35 years, and he's getting ready to release a stand-up comedy special, I think, next year. So he's been ramping up to this. So this is going to be a big event just to see how he does and how everything's been coming together. Because Eddie Murphy's just, if you don't see him in the movies, you don't really hear much about him anymore or his personal life or anything he's doing. And so the fact that he's going back into this again after so long is pretty exciting. So you may want to set your DVR or watch it live if you can. We talked about this past week they did another version of live in front of a studio audience with the Addams Family and the Good Times, not the Jeffersons, live on ABC, live performance. Only problem was it was during the presidential impeachment hearing.
Oh boy!
So Jimmy Kimmel, who was hosting the thing, had to keep making mentions of the breaks might be a little bit longer, or we may get cut off at certain points because all this is going on. We surely always pick the right time to do these kind of things, but ABC kind of balanced it out, right? They did their thing when they had to do their special reports. They did it. They blew out the commercials and went to do the news stuff. And when the news thing was done, it went right back to the TV show.
Nice.
So they managed to do all 2 hours. Everything was good. So you can go find all of that on demand. Doctor Who, like we said, comes back on January 1st. Yeah, because now God forbid the Doctor does a Christmas special anymore. Because the new showrunner said, "Oh, we've done Christmas to death. There's not many more Christmas things they could do. There's always Christmas things you can do.
Do Christmas stuff forever. Shut your goddamn mouth."
Yeah, right. And then they're like, we're moving it to New Year's Day. And then people complained, and they said, well, the majority of the world doesn't celebrate Christmas, so this only makes sense. Yeah, well, you know what? The whole big tradition in England, before it was even over in the United States, was Doctor Who had Christmas stuff. And then when it came over to the United States and Canada and became really super big, and then it was more the world's property than it was England's property, they still did Christmas stuff, and everyone loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But the new season, the final trailer that they put out is not very reassuring. Even though they're bringing back some stuff from the past, some creatures, some villains, some story lore from the Doctor's history is being peppered back into this stuff when they swore they were not going to do that and move on to new things.
Yeah, because they realized that it sucked. Dude, I don't know. That I'm probably not even going to watch the new season. I'm not going to do it to myself. They fucking ruined that
I'm going to
show.
watch it. I want to see what it does. I'm going to hate watch it, but just the days of me being super... And it's not for what anybody thinks. Everybody is quick to point out because they rushed to make her... make the Doctor a female, which, yes, they did. They should not have done that. But she's not bad as a doctor. She's not great as a doctor, but she's not bad as a doctor. The problem with this show now is not even her. It's the showrunner, it's the writing, the companions are not only are they just a diverse group, which I'm really not complaining about, they're boring as hell. They add nothing to a story. They dilute the Doctor because the Doctor seems desperate to have friends now, and we all need to get together, and don't leave me. Where the Doctor... Every time there was a new Doctor, he didn't give a shit about who the companions were, and had to warm up and grow. It was like a Grinch kind of thing. It was like an old man set in his ways kind of thing. He had to warm up to the companion, and then when the Doctor is going to end, you're sad the Doctor's going, and then you're sad the companions are going. Like you felt connected to everything. Now there's no connection to the Doctor, to the companions, to any of this stuff. You're like, I don't let the TARDIS crash into the planet at this point. I don't care.
Oh, I wouldn't give a shit unless it did that and the Doctor regenerated into someone I actually gave a shit about again.
Right.
Then yeah, but otherwise, I don't fucking care. I don't care about. You're right. I don't care about the companions. I don't care about the Doctor. I don't care about the storylines. Even in previous Doctor Who seasons when it was still good, obviously David Tennant, Matt Smith, even Christopher Eccleston. I actually liked him as a Doctor a lot. You not even just cared about the companions and the Doctor. You cared about just the random side characters that came in.
They
did such a great job.
Jack Harkness, Captain Jack.
Captain Jack's amazing. You love him. That was a spinoff into Torchwood, which is an amazing show too.
Right.
They just ruined. It's not Doctor Who anymore. It feels like a shitty like crime sci-fi show on ABC now.
I'll tell you what it is. After last season where they had to go super woke and super everything. And look, the Doctors and the writing behind the Doctor and the philosophy of the Doctor has always been rather inclusive. And I'm not complaining about that at all. It hasn't been, it was fighting against, shittier ideals all the time. It was fighting against racism, it was fighting against, fascism, it was fighting against all these other things. But it did it in a way that made it suitable for everybody. Like you're like, yeah, I get it. That's why they're doing it, whatever. It wasn't preaching anything. Last season was very preachy, and this year the trailers have been like, even 1 or 2 episodes last season were mixing in pop music.
Ugh.
And then the final trailer for this season coming up, it feels like the CW is producing Doctor Who instead of the BBC.
That's terrible.
They made it into Riverdale. They CW'd the Doctor.
What a waste. What a waste of a great show, a great character.
Yeah.
Anywho, not watching that. And
then finally for television, this week in 1989 was the debut of The Simpsons 30 years ago with their first episode, first full-length episode it's called The Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. It was their Christmas episode that wound up being the first episode, the pilot episode for the whole legacy that would become The Simpsons 30 years ago. I remember watching it that night, taping it on my videotapes, transferring it to other videotapes so I could cut the commercials out, and then saving it on those videotapes without the commercials because this was the late 80s into the 90s. You didn't have DVDs yet. You didn't have any other computer stuff to store anything like this. So videotapes is what you saved everything on so I could watch these episodes. And also, there wasn't in syndication until like the 3rd or 4th year that it was out. So you didn't get to watch reruns all the time. You had to tape these things so you could watch it whatever you wanted.
Wow.
Little history lesson there for the kids.
VHS tapes.
Right. So I think we covered everything, right? Is there anything else we needed to hit on this?
Not that I know of, but I also didn't look. So.
Oh, no.
I may not be the best person to ask. Wait, did it stop again?
No, it's time to end the show. That's the music. Gotcha. Anyway, so let's get the plugs out of here, and we got some Christmasing to do, and we're going to try to figure out if we're going to be back. I don't think we're going to be back for another new show by the end of the year, but maybe right after the first of the new year, we'll come back and do a show. I'm going to have specialty programming next week for everybody to check out and hopefully enjoy. I think we might throw a Radio Inquisition in there, a little tease. Not a major one, just a minor one, just something to wet to the whistle as we go into 2020. Zia, what do you have for your plugs?
Just follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'll post whatever crap I'm doing there. Hopefully Twitch and YouTube will get going soon. Twitch is kind of my main focus, but I'll announce all that on Twitter and Instagram at Zia_land. It's spelled XIA. Also, that helps me get jobs, so much appreciated.
Right. Do that. She likes to be tipped. You got to throw out a Venmo or something.
Yeah, I could do that.
You can set up a little tip thing on your website so people can just send you stuff.
Well, when you and also when you stream on Twitch, you can take like donations and stuff like that.
Do all of that. For
cool.
me, E-Rock Radio on all the social media stuff. But for the show, it's Erik Nagel across the board on the social media. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find the shows that are edited down from commercials and all that stuff. Simpler versions of the program are available on YouTube. If you want to leave a voicemail for us to use on future shows, 651-SMITHERS is the phone number, 651-764-8437. And I think that's about it. We need to go put out cookies and milk and wait for Santa. So that's what we're going to do. Oh, also Star Wars.
Yay!
I'll spoil it for you right now. Dies. There you go. All right. Until the next time. Until next year, everybody.
Ooh, be excellent to each other.
And we'll be seeing you.
And the bells were ringing out for Christmas Day.
It's Erik Nagel.
Yeah, I didn't mention anything to you guys because I thought that you guys just might razz me a little bit about being a Santa Claus over at Nagel's.
Alas, we're out of time.
Follow It's Erik Nagel on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For ways to listen to the show, go to itseriknagel.com. And remember to tell 2 friends so they can tell 2 friends. And they can tell 2 friends. And they can tell 2 friends. And those 2 friends can tell 2 friends. And those 2 friends can tell 2 more friends. Well, you get the idea.